Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm playing Chess960, where the back rank pieces are scrambled for a total of 960 different possible starting positions. My goal is to win 3 games, and I will only play against higher rated opponents. Let's get started with game number 1. Alright, game number 1, we get the black pieces against a 1620 rated opponent, slightly lower rated than us, but high enough rated that it is worth the game. Let's go ahead and start by developing our knights. I have to say Chess960 is probably one of my favorite variants. First introduced to me as Fisher Random, then as Chess960 when I joined chess.com, and now being advertised as, did you see me just try to castle my knight? Now being advertised as freestyle chess. Let's go ahead and try to fight for the center here a little bit. We want the queen and the queenside bishop to have some scope as well. I'm not exactly sure where I want to castle yet. I was thinking kingside made the most sense. That way I have a somewhat standard fianchetto on the king side, but that depends a lot on how the opponent plans on unscrambling their queenside pieces now that the knight has sort of been awkwardly placed on d3, right? Because now they have the fianchetto, but then the question is, where does the queen go? So we'll see what they make of that. We'll develop our knight behind the pawn structure. Our queen is not looking so pretty either, but still looking comfortable. We have queen to c7, and the bishop has options as to where to develop now. We get pawn to a4. I'll probably just stop a6 push ideas after pawn to a5 with a6 myself, but for the time being, let's go ahead and just play bishop to e6. Somebody has to defend f7. If I do go for that kingside attack, we get bishop to a3. Yeah, and I think we're definitely castling queenside here. I just want to go for the attack right away. And to be honest, we've reached a not normal chess position, but a more normal chess position than you sometimes do in these 960 games. We get pawn to b5. It'd be nice to push past here, but the problem is the knight can just take. If I leave the pawn alone, takes, queen takes, that might not be worse for me. Let's go ahead and just continue with h4. I'm going to try to force this attack through. Let's push g5, move the knight back out of the way. Nice, pawn to g4, push him around a little bit more. Knight goes to the side, so we need more pressure on this knight. We could also just sack the rook. And you only live once, so might as well. Let's give it a try. We have scope for the queen. The knight can centralize at some point. We'll play rook to h8, now targeting this pawn, which is, I believe, impossible to defend. We get pawn takes. If I take with the queen, there should be no new issues on the board. Weirdly enough, the knight, the queen, and the king do a pretty good job of defending this file. Even the pawn, I guess you could give some credit to. We get queen to b4. Again, I don't think that creates any new threats. We'll go ahead and take. Rook to b1. Knight to b5 here is very tempting. Oh no, my knight! Oh goodness, they can take my free knight. Whatever will I do? And obviously the subliminal threat here is queen takes h2 is immediately mate. We'll see if they notice. They probably will. They're probably wondering, oh, there we go, queen to f4. They do notice that there is in fact mate, but they do hang the bishop. So it should be totally winning for us anyways. We'll go ahead and take, I think. I mean, we could just not take too. Yeah, we don't have to take. We'll take the free bishop first. That way there's still some hope of continuing the attack. Queen does take, so we'll just take back with the king. And the attack goes down the drain. Okay, we do have an extra piece, so there's stuff to look forward to in this. Well, actually, no, we've sacked the exchange. So what do we have? 2 pieces for a rook in that case. We get rook to d1. Go ahead and reroute this knight. We want to centralize our pieces. Maybe still insist on attacking h2. We get knight to f4. Bishop to e5 here is too tempting not to play. We'll go ahead and pre-move the recapture on e6 as well. Down to a minute 33, but the opponent is slowly catching back up on time. Okay, we do have this attack on h2. h3 probably the only way to concretely stop it, but we get pawn to d3 instead. Let's play this little intermediate check. King shuffles over to f1. We probably have to retreat this knight. I don't believe we have another choice. So we'll go knight back to d6. And it's interesting because we do have those 2 pieces. What do we have? We have 2 knights for a rook, but our pawn structure is so absolutely terrible that it almost feels hard to justify. If I had to guess, we'll probably win this with a fork of some kind. We get pawn to d4, which is super annoying. Now our bishop does absolutely nothing on f6. Probably need a pawn break at some point to justify even having a bishop on the board. We get king to e2. Let's play rook to h2, target the bishop. Nice, bishop moves back, g3 now threatens this pinned f2 pawn. We'll play check, we drop g3, but we pick up c2 in the process. If we can start getting pawns off the board, maybe we can make it look like our pawn structure isn't so terrible. Again, these knights do an amazing job of holding onto the file. So I'm just going to focus on pushing in the center, correcting my pawn structure, and clearing the center pawn so my bishop has some life. I'll move my bishop back, pawn to e5. I don't think this bishop can cause me any huge problems. Let's just shuffle the rook over. Yeah, weirdly enough, this king is so weak that I think it causes white a lot of practical problems. Ooh, we get the fork on e4. King to g3, does that solve the fork? Well, they sack anyways, so it doesn't matter. We'll go ahead and, do we take with the knight? Because that weakens b7. Okay, we'll take with the pawn with check. Bishop to e5. I wonder if there's a mating idea here. There might be. Check. I don't know if I want to commit. I think I should though. There has to be a back rank of some kind here. Oh yeah, knight to f6 is mate, and with that we win game number 1. Nice, let's go to move on to game number 2. All right, game number 2, we get the white pieces. And I was going to say a little bit of an unorthodox position, but I guess that's sort of redundant in this variant. We're paired with an 1800 rated opponent who immediately strikes at the center. I'm going to meet them with a symmetrical opening. And I'll probably just castle kingside here. Seems to be the most natural thing to do. Worry about the bishops, queen, rooks, etc. later. We'll go ahead and castle. For those who don't know, if you castle in this variant, it always lands you in the same position that you would in normal chess. We get queen to d6. I guess already looking for mating ideas on h2. Quite a bold approach. Let's go ahead and play pawn to c3. I think I'd like an e4 break at some point. If I can make that happen. We get knight to e4, looking for knight to g5 to simply remove the knight and then mate me on h2, which I guess fair play to my opponent. If I play g3, I'm a little concerned about like bishop d7, bishop to h3, but that might be far enough in the future that I don't have to worry about it now. h5, h4 is also a very real possibility. This feels like I'm playing my evil twin, because this is exactly the sort of shenanigans that I would get up to. Yeah, we do get bishop to d7. Yeah, we're perfectly synced. Let's go bishop d2, looking for bishop to f4. I need to find a way to start throwing pieces sort of back in their face, if that makes sense. You're right, bishop to h3. I might even just give up the exchange. If I play bishop to f4, queen moves out of the way. I take, opponent would take. Maybe that's a little bit too much. Let's move the rook over first. Pre-move the recapture. That's so funny. I'm in his head, but he's in my head as well. This is quite funny. I think we just probably have very similar play styles. Knight c5, trying to reroute to the center. Knight d7, trappy idea if the bishop ever moves, but that's both unlikely or impossible. Depends on how you look at it. We're targeting b7 as well. We'll reroute the knight, trying to look for knight to e5. And I do still think we'll get that pawn break at some point. We just can't play it at the moment because obviously queen takes f3. Okay, we get knight c7, we'll centralize the knight and look for e4. Right, so far so good. Opponent still hasn't castled, but they could do it in literally one move, and the board would suddenly look quite normal. Okay, pawn takes. Let's take with the bishop, reinforcing the knight on f3, putting some pressure on c6 as well. Okay, the opponent castles. So why is that not just free? I'm not totally sure. Let's play queen to d3. Again, somebody else looking at the knight on f3, and we're looking at h7 as well. I've just realized knight d7 was sitting there on the board with the fork. But we do grab h7. Let's move the bishop back. c5 probably inbound. Ooh, oh, opponent takes? Can they take back? I don't think they can because my bishop defends my queen and that's a rook. But c5 is still very possible. Knight to c5, so they want my bishop. And unfortunately, there's nothing I can do about stopping them from getting it. So we'll just shuffle the queen over and pre-move the recapture. We're down to 58 seconds. I really need to even out the clock situation. But we have some cool attacking ideas here. Oh, that doesn't work because the queen just trades. Okay, queen to f4 in that case. I really like how this knight is placed. I really like the weaknesses that it's targeting at the moment. g4 is a very interesting idea. But we get g5 first. Queen back. I think that's fine. Looking for queen to h5. It is 3-2. We do get 2 seconds back for every move that we make. I think we've recovered. I think we're doing okay here. Yeah, check and check. This just looks very, very comfortable for us. Go ahead and take on g5, threatening on h7. e7 is, at least we've got an eye on it with a rook at the moment. Knight to e6 is a possibility. I think we've just weakened, oh, we've definitely weakened their kingside plenty. We get mate in 1. With that, we win game number 2. We have 2 victories under our belt. Let's go to move on to game number 3. All right, game number 3, we get paired against a 1770 rated opponent. Sort of interesting setup where all the minor pieces are on one side. And I think I'm going to play this a little bit different. Let's play d6. Instead of striking directly at the center as the opponent is doing, we're going to go for this fianchetto and try to aim all of our artillery in that general direction. Let's go pawn to f5. Nice, now we have somewhere to, that's not how the knight moves, I was gonna say, now we have somewhere to develop the knight to. Looking at f4, the e5 push seems pretty natural here at some point. Knight to f6 also seems pretty natural. Looking for knight g4, targets the bishop. Knight d5 is another way of doing that. Is it premature? Maybe. Let's play queen to d7 first. I wanna get this rook out to be able to support an e5 push, and I also wanna be able to castle and have a rook land on d8. Right. We castle, and I think we can make the argument that we've completed our development before the opponent has. This is going to be a little bit annoying. So I'm just going to play knight g4. I'm okay with that trade. Hits the bishop and puts it back. Now e5, does that work? Opponent could take, I would take back. I think it works in the sense that opening up the center of the board is favorable for us. Since the opponent is clearly a little bit behind in development, they have to take with the knight or else they get a free knight. But they're thinking about it. I'm not really sure. Okay, cool. We'll go ahead and take back. Wasn't really sure what they were thinking about there. We'll take with the rook to target the bishop. The bishop moves over. I guess maybe we have to move back. I mean, we could even move to a5. I don't know if that's overzealous, but it looks really interesting. Yeah, it's too tempting. Rook to a5, targeting a2, which cements the king and the rook to those squares. There's also some dirty traps of like this, moving the bishop out of the way, and then bishop here with the pin because the queen defends, but bishop to e4, they could even give up the exchange. I don't think it's worth the hassle. But something more straightforward, like bishop c4 threatening bishop to d3, that makes sense to me. Ooh, nice. We get bishop to d3, pins the queen to the king. Go ahead and pre-move the recapture, assuming the opponent will desperado their way out of this. Weirdly enough, rook d1 doesn't even work because you can take here with check. But the king has moved out of the way, so we will take. There has to be force mate. Check, check, pre-move, and mate. With that, we win game number 3 for a total of 3 victories under our belt. If you guys did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Let me know down below what other variants I should play. And also let me know down below what you guys call this variant. Do you guys call this Fisher Random, Chess960, or Freestyle Chess? I will see you guys in the next one.